Yeah.
Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Welcome to another video. If you're seeing this face for the very first time, my name is Adaisy Ugoji Okiki and you are very much welcome to my channel. If you're an old-time subscriber, what's up? How you doing? Anyways guys, so this video is long overdue. I just wanted to sit here and tell you guys about my labor and delivery story. I feel like I just really needed to share this story for myself, and also because my little man is 6 months today and I am so happy, so excited, and I'm just so grateful to God because it's been a whole journey and I'm just really thankful. But anyways, let's get right into it. So as you guys know, I had a high-risk pregnancy. Yeah, I had a high-risk pregnancy. So I had to be on bed rest most of the time, but I had a chance to go back to work, and I stopped working at about 34 weeks. Finally stopped working. And then after my baby shower, everything was going smoothly. My birthday, if you don't know, was in December. So come December 21st, everything was going fine. I just had pain here and there, but I'm like, you know what? They're gonna take out my cerclage at the end of December. So I'm like, when they take off the cerclage, we'll just go from there. But I kept praying that my baby wasn't born in December because I wanted him to be born in January, like very close to his due date. I didn't want anything to be late. So come December 26th, I started having like really bad pain. Like the pain was very unbearable. I'm sorry if I'm looking down. He's sitting here and he's just looking at me, so I just keep looking at him. But anyways, so December 26th, I go to the hospital. Like I go to the ER, and because they already know like my case, so they take me up to the labor and delivery floor, and they check my cervix and they take off the cerclage. They're like, oh, we need to take off the cerclage, but you're 2 centimeters dilated, so we're just gonna keep you overnight just to monitor, just make sure everything is fine, and just see how the labor progresses from there. And I was about 37 weeks at that point. So I just kept telling my husband, I'm like, I don't want to have this baby now. I'm not ready. He also wasn't ready for our little man to come in December. So after they took off the cerclage, thankfully, the contractions stopped on their own. So we stayed overnight, and it was like 3 a.m. So in the morning, around like 9 o'clock, they let us go home. I was just really happy. So we go home, and like New Year comes by, everything is going smoothly. And like on the 23rd, I'm just having this feeling that something is gonna happen. So I'm just gonna nest and just clean my house, just make sure everything is good. So I'm like going to just the grocery store, and people are looking at me like, look at this woman with this big stomach, like packing groceries, and I'm making sure I do everything that I have to do, like cook, just make sure we have food at home, just make sure everything is in place. And my husband gets home from work, we're sleeping. I don't know if I told you guys before, I couldn't sleep on our bed, so I was sleeping on the couch. So I was in the living room, and I just felt really uncomfortable. I felt like water. Hi, honey. Hi. Hello. I just felt like water was like dripping somewhere. So I wake up and I walk into the bathroom, my water breaks and it's just gushing everywhere. So I go and I tell my husband, oh babe, my water broke, we have to go to the hospital. So I go to the bathroom and call the hospital and let them know, and they're like, okay, you need to come in like right away because again, high risk pregnancy, and they just want to make sure that I don't have any kind of infection because I had tested positive for group B. So we gather up all our things and we head over to the hospital because the hospital is pretty close to the house. And I already had my birth plan. I knew exactly what I wanted. I knew how I wanted to have this baby. I knew that I wasn't going to be one of those people like, oh, I don't want an epidural, I can push naturally. No, I'm not here to lie to myself. I know I can't stand pain. I know pain and me, we don't see eye to eye. So I'm like, you know what, when they ask me if I want an epidural, I'm going to say yes. Give me that epidural. Let's just keep it going. So we get to the hospital, contractions are coming here and there, but it's coming slowly. So they check, and I'm still 2 centimeters dilated. And they're like, okay, we're just gonna keep checking. And then they're monitoring baby's heartbeat. So the whole night contractions would just come in here and there, and they said, okay, we're gonna put you on Pitocin just to help the contractions, just to move things along, to make things move faster. So I'm connected to Pitocin on one side, and on the other side I'm getting the antibiotics. So everything is going normally, and then they start noticing that baby's a little distressed and his heartbeat is like just going up and up, and they're like, you know what, we're just gonna monitor you, have you move around like with every contraction, try to take another position and just make sure that his heartbeat, like he's fine and he's not in distress. So they keep monitoring it for like 2 hours, and finally the nurse was doing all of this in the residence. So the main OB doctor comes in and she was like, you know what, I know this is not what you planned, but we're gonna have to have a C-section, and just to make sure like everything is fine with the baby. And I'm like, you know what, just to be on the safe side, just to make sure baby's fine, because I could see like his heartbeats on the monitor, and I was getting really worried too. And my husband and I like, you know what, yeah, no problem, we're just gonna do the C-section. So I tell my parents, my husband tells his parents, and you know what, we're like, you know, let's just go in. So I'm still having contractions while they wheel me in, and then husband had to go and like get dressed so he can come into the OR with me. So I go in first. They give me like an epidural, just to like numb everything down from like stomach level down to just for the C-section. So I'm lying on the table, husband is sitting above my head, and they start the whole process of like opening me up. And during the whole process, like when they first start, I could hear the doctor say, oh, can you call some other doctor? And I'm like, okay, like, you don't need that much doctors to perform a C-section. And as that person comes, they call for another person. This is another doctor, and I start getting worried at that point. Like they couldn't, like my blood pressure was going up, and I started shaking, like I was shivering, and I felt like I was going to pass out. So they're like, okay, we need to like start infusing blood for her. Like she's becoming really, really weak. There's something going on. And all I could hear was like, oh, it's really, really hard to pull the baby out because she has so much fibroids in the lining of her stomach. Like even cutting my stomach to like get the baby out was really, really difficult. That's why they needed to call other people for help. And they had to cut like regular C-sections, they cut like that, but then for me they had to cut like that and then cut it like that. So it's pretty much like a T-section just to be able to bring the baby out. And pulling him out was just really, really hard. Like it took them a long time because like with each contraction that happened, like the fibroid was trying to like squeeze around his neck. So what was happening and why his blood pressure was like going up was that the cord was wrapped around his neck. Like I can smile now because everything is fine with him, but that point it wasn't funny. And for the last couple of months, it hasn't really been funny every time I think about it. So the cord was around his neck, and then the fibroid was like squishing his neck in every single time that I had like a contraction. So it was really, really difficult. So normally when they pull your baby out after a C-section, they kind of like show you your baby, then they take the baby away and clean the baby. So for us it was different because first of all, I already told them that I wanted to record, but they're like, this is an emergency C-section, so we're not going to be able to do that. And I'm like, okay, no problem. So first he comes out, I don't hear him crying, so I start getting worried, and I'm telling my husband like, babe, can you check please, make sure the baby's okay, can you please look? And they keep telling him like, no, don't worry sir, just sit down, just stay where you are. And next thing we hear him crying, and then 2 seconds later they literally run and take him out of the room. And I keep asking, can I see my baby? Like, what is going on? What is going on? And they're like, please just relax, everything is fine. So they're trying their best to like stitch me up, but because of the fibroids it was really, really hard for them to like stitch me up. So it was just taking a really long time, and I was losing blood. So they saw that I was really worried, and a nurse comes and she shows us a picture of our baby, and I'm gonna insert a picture like over here. He looked like really, really purple, and he just looked like there was something wrong. And I'm like, what is wrong with him? And then people in the OR start yelling like, you shouldn't have showed her the picture, you know, like her situation is complicated, we're trying to make sure we close her properly, and it's really hard, like you shouldn't have showed her. Like this child looked like he was dead. Like, you know how like a child is like purple because they don't have oxygen and whatnot, and they were just like wires coming out of like his belly button, and I'm like, well, what is going on? Like, why does he look like that? And the woman walks away, and my husband couldn't go back to like see what was going on. So finally they close me up, and I'm crying. I'm like, I really want to see my baby because I need to know what's going on. They take me back to my room, and I'm like, I want to know what's going on. And the doctor comes in, and she comes to explain, saying that, oh, because the cord was around his neck, and like the contraction was kind of like squeezing his neck, he lost oxygen for a little bit, so they have to take him to another hospital because the hospital that I was in didn't have the machines they needed to just take care of him to make sure he was okay. But they were going to let me see him for like 5 minutes before they take him away, and I'm like, why can't I go with my baby? And she's like, well, you just had major surgery, like it was a really complicated surgery, so we have to keep you overnight to make sure like you're fine before we send you over to where the baby is. But the baby's going to go through something called a cooling therapy, where they cool his body down and then warm him back up, just to make sure he doesn't have any seizures, any complications because of the amount of oxygen that he lost and all of that stuff. So I'm really worried. I'm crying, like I'm shaking. I'm calling my parents, like calling my mom. Everybody's calling at this point to just like hear the good news. Oh, you had a baby. And they bring him in. He's in like the stroller for the air ambulance, but he's like inside the little, I don't know what they call it, the thing they put babies inside. So he's in the little like incubator or something for babies, and he has like all these wires and everything connected to his body, and I could only like reach over and touch him. You guys will see a picture like right here, and it was just really sad for me because I'm like, I've waited so long to see this baby, and this is the only way like I could touch him, and I could only like, because my legs were like numb, I could only like stretch my hands to reach and touch him. It was just really sad and really painful. So they take him away, and I'm trying my best. I'm like, you know what? I'm telling my husband, like, babe, you know what? I'm going to get up from this bed today. I don't care what anybody's telling me. I'm going to, oh, my battery is blinking. I'm going to get up from this bed today and make sure I get to the new hospital tomorrow because I need to see my child. I'm not doing this with anybody. I need to be in the same hospital as my baby because this is really painful. So I was able to get out of bed. I peed. Everything was fine. They checked. The incision was looking good, and like, you know what, we're going to try to get you a bed in your new hospital because the new hospital is 2 hours away. So we're going to make sure you have a bed waiting for you in that new hospital, and they're going to be able to accommodate you because the baby's going to be in the NICU for about a week. So I'm like, no problem, I'll figure it out. So luckily for me, I knew a doctor that works in the other hospital where my baby was. So I contacted him and I explained what was going on. He's like, I'll keep an eye on your baby overnight before you get here, and I'm also going to make sure we have a bed waiting for you on the birthing floor. And I was just really grateful to him for his help and him just looking out for us and just being an extra eye with the baby, where the baby was. Like, we got phone calls every now and then. We got a phone call when he got there. We got a phone call when like they like put him on the machine to start the cooling therapy. And I'm gonna insert some pictures just so you guys can see what I'm talking about. And I'm sorry guys, it's just a lot of stuff to talk about. Anyways, so I was discharged from the hospital where I had my baby the next morning, and I'm in the ambulance trying to get to my baby. Mind you, it's in the dead of winter. It just snowed, so there's like black ice on the road. So the road is slippery. We're driving in the ambulance going to the new hospital. I was in the ambulance, and my husband was driving in the car behind me. And the ambulance is literally skidding off the road because of how much ice is on the road. So a 2-hour trip ends up taking us like 4 hours to get there. And it was just a really horrible process because I was uncomfortable. I was in a lot of pain. Like, my stomach was hurting, and I was worried because I really wanted to know what was going on with my baby. I wanted to just make sure, like, just to see him, just to hold his hand, just so he knows that he's not alone, and like, we're there with him and we actually care about him. So finally get to the hospital, and when I get there, like, the first thing I tell the nurse, I'm like, please, like, I don't have time for excuse me, I'm like, I don't have time for you to check me. I don't care about me right now. I need to just go see my son. And she's like, no, ma'am, like, you cannot take care of your baby if you are not fine. You need to relax so we can check you, make sure you're good, give you pain medication, and then we will actually wheel you over in a wheelchair to go see your son. So I got like pain medication. They checked, the doctor came in, they made sure everything was fine, and then she takes me over to where my baby was. And for the cooling therapy to happen, like, he was only in diapers, so he had like, there was a cooling blanket, a cooling, like a water cooling thing under, and a sheet, and then they put him on top of it so it could actually like cool his body down. And I'm gonna leave all the information on the screen just so it will be like a better explanation for you guys. They cooled his body down to like lower than his regular body temperature, just to let his brain relax. And this therapy was done for 72 hours, so he was on that for 3 days. And then at the end of the 72 hours, they would slowly warm his body back. I was saying, sorry, I had to stop and change my battery. So they would cool his body down lower than his regular body temperature, and then they would slowly warm it back up. And while they're doing all of that, while everything is happening, they will be monitoring like his seizure, his brain, to just make sure he didn't have like any seizures. And like, they will warm everything, they will warm him back up, and then just monitor him, make sure that he's able to keep his regular body temperature. So with all of that happening, he wasn't breastfeeding, but I was still pumping, and they would just, he wasn't meant to eat, like he wasn't, like, they weren't giving him food because he had like the IV, so they would only give him like a couple of drops just to like get him to know the taste of like my breast milk. It was, I feel like that's like the hardest thing that I had to watch, because you could see that he was cold, and like he was just, I could tell that he was in a lot of pain. Hi, love. You want to film with me? Alright, hold on guys, I'll be right. Alright guys, I'm back. So as I was saying, this is little man over here, but I'll introduce him at the end of the video. So as I was saying, so it was just a really it was just a really hard thing to watch him go through and not be able to do anything. But anyways, thankfully at the end of everything, they did a neuro, like they checked, the neuro people, the neuro department came and checked, and they said he was fine and they could take him off the machine. So the other hurdle we have to go through was just making sure that his body temperature stayed normal, and that he was like getting enough fluid, and like he's I've forgotten what it was. They were checking, just making sure that everything with him was just at normal level, and he was eating normally, and like his sugar level was normal, and nothing was too high or too low. So they took him off the IV once, and they had to put it back because he wasn't getting enough like nutrients, because he wasn't really sucking so much. So we were in the hospital for total was 1 week, because after everything was taken off, we had to go through the whole teaching me how to breastfeed. So the lactation department came, and I had to sleep over at the hospital a couple of nights because they were trying to teach me how to correctly like make him latch and like breastfeed. And of course, this young man is a champ. Like, when he saw the boobs, he just went right for it, and he was sucking, and he was eating really well. He was eating really well, and it was just really good. Like, the day we got discharged from the hospital, the night before, he got circumcised, and he had his first shower at the hospital. It was just really nice it was just a great thing to bring him back home. And at this point right now, we still have to go back to the hospital a couple of times just to make sure, like, they keep checking to make sure he doesn't have like any seizures, and that he's on the right track with all his milestones and he's developing well, and so far he has been rocking it like a champ, and he's been growing so beautifully. He's been ahead of the curve. Like when they check all like his milestones and the percentiles, he's like in the 90s, and I'm just really excited. Yes, open mommy clothes. I'm just really excited and grateful to God that we went through everything and we came out at the end of it smiling. So now that he's 6 months, we still have to go back to the hospital for them to do like a developmental check for him and to check his brain again to make sure he's not having any seizures, and make sure that everything is going on well with him, and just to make sure that he's just growing well and beautiful. I just wanted to share this video with you guys because I know that a lot of women go through different things during childbirth that most people don't want to talk about, and most people are not ready to share their experience. And I just hope that our story just is helping somebody somewhere, and it would just make people just talk more about the whole pregnancy and delivery process, because I can tell you that even after coming home, it was really difficult for me. Like, yes, my milk was coming in a lot, but with the C-section and the baby being so little and me just being like really worried, like there are days where like I just look at him and I just start crying, because I'm like, not only am I thankful to God, but then at the back of my head I'm also worried, like, am I sure that I didn't cause him any problems? Like me having fibroids didn't cause him like any damage, and is he fine? That was my biggest issue, and it still is my biggest issue. I'm just worried every single day, like, is he okay? Am I doing the right thing as a mom? And being a mom is not easy. So shout out to all the moms out there. You were doing a very beautiful job. Like, people might not tell you this enough, but I'm telling you, you were doing a beautiful job, and your little one might not be able to say it to you, but they are very grateful for everything that you're doing for them. But that's it. So far so good. We have been kicking it for the past 6 months, me and him. I've been home with him, and yes, it's just been us two. Daddy has to work, so he goes to work and I'm home with him. And yes, I'm grateful. My mom stayed with us for about a month, almost 2 months, and my husband's mom also came and stayed with us and just helped out, and I'm just really grateful that I had all that help and all that support. And I'm still learning every single day, honestly. I can't say I'm a pro when it comes to having a baby, because I am not. I'm not a pro with taking care of baby, but it's been good. We're both learning. He's learning, I'm learning him, he's learning me, and he just started eating solids, so I'm going to be sharing all of that with you guys, where I'm going to be sharing our routines and everything that we're both getting up to. So thank you guys for watching this video. And before we end, no, we're not pulling mommy's hair. Oh yes guys, I made my hair. I made this hair, so I'm really proud of this hair. But anyways, this is my little man. Let's stand him up. He's not even looking. But this is my little man. His name is Liam Ayanaya Okeke. And yes, he is my little man, and he is 6 months today, and I am just so grateful and thankful to God, and thankful to all of you that keep watching all my videos, and everybody who's subscribed to my channel. Please, if you're not already subscribed, please remember to subscribe and just help us grow this channel, and just help us grow. You would see a lot more of him. Yes, tell them subscribe to mommy's channel. You will see a lot more of him and our family as we just keep growing and learning. And I love you guys so much. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, subscribe if you're not already subscribed, and share this video with your friends and family. Help me grow this channel. I really appreciate all of you, and I'll see you guys in the next. I love you guys so much. Bye.